Hey there, I'm Tony Dokoupil, and we're in the CBS This Morning Toyota Green Room with Recycle Across America founder Mitch Hedlund. That's her right there. Her organization aims to remove all doubt and confusion, and there's a lot of it, all doubt and confusion about the recycling process. How? By standardizing labels on recycling bins. Good morning, Mitch.
Good morning.
I think before we get into some tips on recycling, we should make a few points. First one being that recycling is not dead.
Right.
And it matters.
It does. It does. Yeah, so recycling, I think a lot of people are hearing that it's dead and that everything's going to the landfill and going to the incinerator, and what's the point? And I think it's really important to say it's not completely dead.
ICU, as you put it.
It's in ICU, and sometimes, you know, things have to break a lot before everybody takes notice and really steps in to fix it.
Yeah.
So to believe it, I mean, believe it or not, at this point, even when recycling is at its worst, I have the most hope for it that I've ever had.
Which would maybe right now. Right?
Yeah.
So your hope level is through the roof in part because recycling at the moment is in some trouble. Right. One of the big reasons why recycling is in trouble is because people don't know what to recycle. And they stand there in front of the recycling bin and they do something called wish cycling, where they hold, say, a paper towel, and they're not really sure if a paper towel can be recycled, but they hope it can be, right. So they put it in the bin. Right. It's aspirational recycling. And that's a big problem because when recycling is contaminated, there's no market to resell it, and when there's no market to resell it, the recycling companies end up taking it to the landfill. Right. So let's go through some of the tips, and they are voluminous. There are 9 of them here from you on how people can improve their recycling success. So no plastic bags ever in recycling bins?
No plastic bags. No plastic bags. Can I say that again? No plastic bags. Don't even buy them if you can avoid buying them. In New York, you just passed a statewide with California ban on plastic bags, but we don't need them as much as we think we do. So avoid them, but also when it comes to recycling, do not put them in your recycling bin, and do not put your recyclables in the plastic bag and then put it in the bin. Plastic bags are a complete no-no for the recycling bin entirely.
So if you're walking around your house picking up recycling and you're doing it in a plastic bag, you're creating problems.
Well, I mean, if you do happen to have a plastic bag and that's the way you're collecting it, then go to the recycling bin, empty it out, and then either take that plastic bag to a grocery store that might have a recycling program, or if you can't find that, then throw it in the trash or reuse it somehow. But avoid it in the first place, but definitely don't let it go into the recycling bin.
What happens if you're making yourself a sandwich and you find you're at the bottom of the peanut butter container, you hear it clinking and clanking, or maybe it's a plastic container? Can you recycle a food container like that, or mayo?
Yes, you can. So a lot of people say, do I have to thoroughly wash it? Do I need to put soap and rinse and make it, you know, peanut butter free? You don't. You just have to make sure that you've scraped it as best as you can and then put it in the recycling bin. The rest of the system will take care of that. But don't put in a full mayonnaise jar or half mayonnaise jar, or, you know, a peanut butter jar that has quite a bit in there. Just scrape it out. But you don't need to wash it.
Don't have to wash it. Okay. Now, plastic containers is a little bit tricky. You think anything made of plastic is probably recyclable, but what are the rules on containers?
First off, don't trust a chasing arrow.
The little recycling symbol.
Yes, do not chase that, or do not trust that chasing arrow, because it's clip art. It's not protected. There's no oversight, so it gets put on anything, including styrofoam, which often is not recyclable. Another thing everybody should avoid. So right now, I would stick with number 1s and number 2s. So if you see a plastic with a number 1 at the bottom or a number 2 at the bottom, then recycle that. But to be honest with you, even that gets confusing. So I make it even simpler. Only bottles, plastic bottles, anything with a neck, whether it's a shampoo bottle or a soda bottle or a milk jug, recycle all of that. And anything that doesn't have a neck right now, if you're not aware of what you can recycle, whether it's a yogurt cup, don't be afraid to just let it go into the trash right now.
Really? But it doesn't, it feels so bad to do that.
It does, but if you're not sure about those, then always stick with a bottle with a neck.
Okay.
That's kind of a good baseline. And when in doubt, throw it out.
We're going to get more on when in doubt, throw it out. But what to do with the caps for the bottles?
With plastic, they actually want the caps on.
Okay.
So if you have a cap, don't just throw it in the bin, but put it back on the plastic container. So the plastic cap sometimes is a different material than the bottle itself. And in processing, it gets shredded and separated. And the cap is actually a good plastic, supposedly, quality that they need. So they want them back.
All right, continuing in the hot seat, Mitch, what about with paper? Not all paper is recyclable. What are the lines?
Well, stick with office paper that's good quality, clean.
This can be recycled.
Yeah, it doesn't have a pizza wrapped in it for the most part.
I do keep pizza in between my sheets sometimes.
You'd be
the long
surprised.
show, you know.
So clean office paper, newspaper, and when it comes to things that are like paper towels or tissues or napkins, those are never recyclable.
So no tissues, no paper towels. What about paper plates?
No paper plates. I know, it hurts, but avoid anything that has been too exposed to food, and paper tissue is just not something that's recyclable.
So if at the end of the day you're having a glass of wine and celebrating your wonderful green afternoon of recycling, and you should break one of those glasses of wine, can you recycle a glass like that?
No, you can't. And unfortunately, the industry is not telling these secrets to people. So people are doing their best thinking, okay, it says glass is recyclable. Clearly, I can put my wine glass in there along with my pickle jar and maybe my orange juice glass that broke, or maybe a window pane. But those are not recyclable. If you can still recycle glass in a lot of communities, right now in the U.S., a lot of communities are discontinuing glass for this very reason.
Wow.
But if
glass is like the original
I know,
recycled material.
It breaks your heart, and it's fully recyclable over and over and over and over again if it's done well. But the problem is no one has told the public, don't put your dishware in there, don't put your glassware in there, don't put your window pane in there. And so when those items get mixed in with the glass and they're all broken, those glasses are different, and they can actually contaminate and break the other good glass that they need for new jars and new bottles.
Before we get into some of the analysis, the single-use plastics, so plastic lids, plastic straws, plastic bags we talked about, none of that is recyclable?
No, nope.
Jeez.
And refuse it, don't use it. And if it is recyclable, if you feel compelled to have a plastic bottle with water in it versus having your own reusable, recycle that. But as far as everything else that's single use, avoid it. Don't buy it. Don't use it. Go to a restaurant, and a lot of restaurants, coastal restaurants especially, are starting to make the decision whether their states will ban it or not. A lot of restaurants and retailers are making a decision not to offer plastic bags anymore, not to offer plastic straws, not to offer styrofoam cups anymore. And a pitch for businesses that are doing that. I hope that all consumers that care about sea life and wildlife and our life make a decision to frequent those businesses that are making the hard decision to get away from single-use plastic. It's critical that we get away from it. It's detrimental.
Given we're a big country, we've got lots of space, we could build lots of landfills. We could throw everything out for a long time. A long, long time.
Yes, right.
So why bother recycling?
Yeah, and great question, because people get really hung up on the whole landfill conversation. And preventing the landfill is just a nano fraction of the benefit of recycling. I like to point this out now. It makes me feel incredibly old, which I don't need any more of that. But when I was born, there were 3.2 billion people on this planet. And now there's 7.7 billion people on this planet. So the idea that we're just going to keep using one time over and over again and depleting all the resources is insane. It's a catastrophic math equation. We can't go like we are right now, where it's just use and throw away. We have to get back into the system as a living, breathing entity of this planet, which all lives in a system. We have to stop thinking we're so smart to just have everything disposable. We're not. It's self-destructive.
The throwaway society is a term for it. China decided it didn't want any of our throwaways, not like it used to anyway. Yes. Are they the reason we're having this recycling crisis?
No, and it's funny because I read media every day about this issue, and a lot of the media is saying, well, recycling just doesn't want our recycling anymore, or China doesn't want our recycling anymore, and international markets have changed, and that's just not true. I mean, it's the half-truth. They have been warning us for over a decade that our recycling is so contaminated that we need to clean it up, or they're going to start restricting how much they buy. They warned us in 2012 of that. That was called the China National Green Fence Policy. And the U.S. didn't clean up their recycling. And so now fast forward to January 2018, and they said enough is enough. They're buying it by the cargo ship full, and what they get when it comes to China and they unveil it is dirty diapers, half-eaten hot dogs, bowling balls, lawn chairs.
I love the bowling ball. What?
Yeah.
It's recyclable? Yeah.
Right. And it's not that people don't like recycling. They love the idea of recycling, but it's presented in such a dysfunctional way that it's really hard for the public to actually take it seriously.
And then on that point, number one, when in doubt, throw it out. But then number two, we should have standardized labels.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer.
Like we have standardized road signs,
right,
state to state.
Right.
If people want to get involved with this issue and talk to their policy leaders or elected officials about standardized labels, what do they do?
Well, so we started, our nonprofit organization, Recycle Across America, started a society-wide standardized labeling system. So even if the rules are different from one community to the next, we have a standardized label that works for every one of those different recycling rules. And we are asking everyone to text FIXIT, F-I-X-I-T, to 40649 to ask their elected officials to start implementing the society-wide standardized labels on recycling bins so that the public can start to recycle right.
And if they don't listen, when in doubt, throw them out.
Yes, yes.
Mitch Hedlund from Recycle Across America, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And again, you can find out more about Recycle Across America's Let's Fix It campaign at recycleacrossamerica.org.